What's up everybody, my name is T-Grizz and welcome back to another video, and today I have with me
NinetyBeats.
And today we're going to talk about The Last of Us. We have both played through the game.
Yes.
And we liked it, and now we're going to talk about it. So first of all, we're going to talk about the story. Oh, before we start...
Spoiler alert, spoiler.
Exactly, spoiler alert. So if you haven't watched any videos on it, you haven't seen the ending, spoiler alert, because we will spoiler it. Alright,
well,
so the story. The story.
Yes.
What do you think about the story?
The story was pretty straightforward, predictable.
Yeah.
It reminded me really of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like a selected group of people that had to survive in like a hostile environment.
Yeah, and the conflict between humans and infected.
Yeah, but also humans and humans, you know, like they both try to survive, but they kill each other, like instead of working together.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting to see in The Last of Us, that the gruesome things they do to each other instead of let's work together.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting to see.
Yeah.
They did it pretty fine. How did you find the storytelling overall?
Well, I really enjoyed the game, for one, and the thing was, I really liked the parts where it was human on human, because the clickers just scared the shit out of me sometimes.
Nah.
So I liked that part a little bit more, but it was fun because they introduced a character and then they told you a little bit about that, or the relationship between you and the character, and then the character dies.
True. I also like that they took a real life parasite or fungus and implemented that in the story in itself.
Yeah.
But it was very clever that they did that.
Yeah, indeed.
And it made it relatable.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing with games. If it's relatable, people will probably pick it up faster because you can imagine it being real.
I wonder how many people know that this parasite actually exists, but I didn't know it also.
Besides
but
that.
I read it on Wikipedia and I just kind of dug into it.
Yeah.
But what I had was that the story also kind of reminded me of Uncharted, and mostly the cutscenes. Like, you know where I'm hinting at? That Joel kind of resembles, he resembles, I was Nathan Drake, was it? Yeah, Nathan Drake.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of, mostly like his appearance also, a little bit, kind of, I want to say sluggish, but, the wild guy.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But overall, that's not a problem.
No.
Right?
But it's funny because it's both Uncharted and both Uncharted and The Last of Us are both Naughty Dog games, and it's funny to see some things that are very similar in those games. For instance, when you needed to look at something, you had to press L3, and the same sound, or kind of the same sound, was in both games. That kind of sound I can't really copy it, but
that's not a problem.
No, it's not a problem, but it's funny to see those things because it's the same, not producer, but how's it called? The
gameplay wise, you mean?
Yeah.
I heard it was the same
developer.
guy.
That's the word I'm looking for.
But I heard in another podcast or program, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That it was the same producer that also did Uncharted 2, which was the best Uncharted game I heard. So his influence was present in The Last of Us. So it was kind of something you could expect, I think, when you know that there's some same guys working on the show, on the I want to say show, but
yeah,
on the game.
Yeah.
So
that's a smart move on their part, of course.
And what did you think about the gameplay overall?
Well, we talked about it, I think yesterday, 2 days ago, and I really liked the gameplay, but then you said something about it being kind of the same overall, and that made me think, yeah, that's kind of true, but it doesn't feel like it's competitive, or it doesn't feel like the same the whole game.
It's not a problem in essence, but what it does, you have a cutscene, you have enemies in between the next cutscene, and how you get to the other cutscene doesn't matter because you get there anyway.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was kind of predictable. Alright, I end the cutscene. I will have enemies around this corner that are human, clickers, runners, or a bloater, or that sometime. And then you get in and the next cutscene is there. And, that was what it was all about. It's not a problem. I don't mind.
But it's funny, we both came to the same conclusion that we played the game and we played a certain part, or actually through the whole game, but we played to get from cutscene to cutscene because one, we wanted to know more about the story, we wanted to see what happened and stuff, and two, some parts were just really scary and really hard to play through, so we just wanted to hop out of the game and just let the cutscene play so we can take a moment to catch our breath.
I think what Uncharted did really well, I said it in a review I made, it will be up someday, but that I had really the feeling of hopelessness, and I didn't, I just thought, well, I have 3 bullets left and there are presumably a lot of enemies, I don't care, I don't make it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's what I had, and that when they came at you, you had a feeling that you had to run away, not like, I just reload and pop the shit out of you. But
yeah, with the infected I felt like I needed to run, and with the humans, sometimes I felt like, well, I can just hit them with a rock or something. But the humans got progressively harder to kill because they got armor, they got shotguns, so they could fight back more.
Well, what the human enemies did was they were kind of predictable in their routes. So they would look around the corner, go back, and that same routine a few times.
Yeah.
And what it was with the runners, you didn't know if they would see you, and if they would see you, then they would scream and the whole shit, and everybody would come at you.
Yeah. The thing with the runners was sometimes I could just stand in front of them, and they wouldn't see me, but the other times I can really sneak past them and they will see me. I don't why.
I don't know. I don't know what the parameters are for that, or the algorithms. That's some. The other times they detect the algorithm, and the other times not. I think it is like that kind of. But let's move on to the characters. We like the cutscenes a lot, and mainly because Ellie and Joel were present in them most of the times.
Yes.
And what do you think about those characters?
I think they are really well developed, because you get, with Joel's side of the story, you get a little bit more story on his part, but with Ellie, she just kind of gets thrown into the game, and all you know is that she got bitten by a infected, and she doesn't turn, and the other thing that I can remember is that she was with a friend or something.
Yeah, true.
And that's pretty much all I know before she got into the story. And I know there are some comic books that you got with the special edition, the special Ellie edition, and that kind of explains the story before you met her in the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There are 4 comic books, little comic books, by the way. And I have number 1 now, and it kind of explains the story, what happens before she meets Joel, because I don't know what's her name, not Tess, but the
Mary something.
I don't know if it sounds racist, but the black girl from the Fireflies.
Mary, right? Maria or something.
Maria. Let's just call her Maria. She gets introduced in those comics as well, and you see how they meet and stuff, and I think it would have been a fun factor if they implemented that in the game, so you have a little backstory on Ellie.
What I heard was in that YouTube show where the guys talked about the game, there was a really huge gap at some point in the story. I think that was the winter part and the one between Tommy's, and they said that probably, or if it was that sequence, I think that they had to cut out a lot of story elements, because some elements really went, you know, a real a step ahead. And at the beginning, Ellie was pretty quickly introduced, which is the problem. But you could use some more background information, I think, on Joel. But you had his prologue, which is also true. But, you know, still a little bit more. How did he become that guy in that 20 years?
Yeah,
pretty big.
Yeah, but with movies is the same thing, because sometimes a scene will get deleted, and if you implement that scene back into the movie, the whole movie can get another vibe if it's focused on a person, for instance.
Well, you could have like a director's cut edition or something.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, maybe they could make some DLC. I don't know.
I heard they probably will do some DLC. But I must say, I really like those two characters in general.
Yeah.
Joel, you know, he was like a villain, but he was a good villain at some point.
The vigilante kind of thing.
Vigilante. And Ellie, I thought the voice acting of Ellie was really good. You told me that some people said that it didn't match her appearance.
Yeah, her age.
Well, I didn't mind. At some point, we really hear a small girl shouting out or something for help. So I wasn't bothered by that. I thought it was pretty good, and it also matched her appearance. You know, like a little bit of a punk ass chick.
Yeah.
To put it that way.
Yeah.
So I didn't bother, and I think it's difficult. I know that Studio Ghibli, something that the Japanese animation studio, has children who do the child characters, if I'm correct. But I think you don't have the talent. Maybe you have the talent around, but it's more difficult to find than a trained voice actor or actor to match somebody. So I wasn't bothered by that, and I think they're one of my favorite characters of the last times in combination with each other.
Yeah. What do you think about their bond through the game?
Well, you see that Joel is kind of hesitant, and at some point, and he wants to. At some point, only he says "baby girl" to her when she was almost like raped or something by the David guy. Yeah. And there was really a scene where he made the connection between his daughter Sarah, was it, I believe?
Yeah.
And Ellie. So the baby girl part, and I think he realized at that point I can't leave her alone. And that was also at Tommy's when they left.
Yeah, with the horses.
Yeah. So they were actually maybe bound by faith or something to be together.
But through the game you get those little interaction things that, where you can press triangle and you get a little story where she sees something and you tell her about it and stuff. And when you do that every time, I think I missed a couple of them, but when you do that every time, the bond between them kind of grows thicker as you go through the game.
I almost clicked them all, I think.
Yeah, I think I missed some because I watched some PewDiePie videos and I think I missed some.
I must say that I really find her also a realistic character, because I hate, and maybe hate isn't a good word, but I don't like to look at perfect characters. You know, and she was like a stuck-up puberty girl.
Yeah.
Not offensive, but she was
represented. She represented the 14-year-old in a good way.
She was pissed off at times, and she also swear like fuck and shut up.
Cursed.
And, you know, Cursed. Yeah. But that's what she does. You know, that's like a real girl at 14. At some point she's emotional.
Especially in that world.
At some point she's also emotional, and at some point she's happy and mad and all together, and that's what you get when you are in puberty, that you don't know exactly what you feel.
I think that if you don't play the story the right way, well, there is only one way.
There's only one way.
If you don't have those interactions, the bond between them goes from 25 to 100% in just a click of a moment.
Yeah.
And I think they should have spread that out just a little bit more.
And they could have implemented like some other story arc in between to flesh it out a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, the beginning and the ending are so different in characters that in between that they could implement something of another bonding moment, I think.
Yeah.
They were there, but what you said, they could have a little bit more.
Yeah.
Let's talk on to the ending. Now we have reached a little bit the beginning and the ending bridge.
Yeah, what do you, I am glad with the ending. I didn't hate. I really liked the ending actually, because with some movies or some games I really think, well, you could have ended it differently, you could have approached it differently, and I really like the way they ended it.
Well, at some point, yeah, that was true, and that he lied to her really made some impact. And when you looking at her face and the facial expressions on overall were so good.
Yeah, but she knows.
She knows she's being lied to, and he knows she's lying. But I think they have peace with that fact.
Yeah.
You need peace in such a world.
Maybe because the truth is just more horrible and stuff.
Yeah, she knows she would die, and she's young and she doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
And he has finally find some closure in Ellie, I think.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to lose her.
Yeah.
So, and it's also not a generic ending, because if it was like a bad ending, like I think how PewDiePie said it, a bad ending, which is actually good, that she saves mankind. But that's a pretty generic ending.
I would have been really disappointed if they would have gone through with the operation and killed her.
I think it was more of a Mass Effect kind of thing if they did, okay, save Ellie or let her go.
I would have saved Ellie in that situation.
Sure, but then you could also have a rerun of the game and see how it plays out if you have...
yeah, that's right.
With Ellie still not alive, but she saved humanity, and watch how that will play out. Yeah. Which was also interesting. But that would make a room for a sequel, I think, if you had those different endings.
We talked a little bit about it when, if there were to be a sequel, how that would play out. And the only thing that I could think about is that they will return to where Tommy was living, and they would just they would arrive there and everybody would be dead, and somebody left a note saying that they shouldn't come here again, otherwise they will get killed too, and then Joel and Ellie will go after those dudes. But then it's just pretty much all about the human conflict.
I think maybe at some point, what if she didn't, look, if you put it in a scenario she didn't know she was lied to, that she would at some point discover it in that place where they were going at the end, that she would run away and he would go after her and she would try to sacrifice herself or something, or eventually changes her mind, and at some point their conflict is resolved or something, but he will go after her, let me put it that way.
Well, that could be possible, yes.
But that's only in the case when she doesn't realize she isn't lied to.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that is possible, and otherwise I don't see any room for a sequel.
No, but do we really want a sequel?
Yeah, of course. I want a sequel. But it isn't made a sequel.
I want a sequel if it's not going to ruin the franchise.
Well, knowing Naughty Dog, it won't be that bad.
But what if?
What? Well, I also thought just now, like a prequel, the 20 years in between. Like,
that would make a good game.
But what was so strong about The Last of Us is the relationship between Ellie, a fragile little girl, not all that fragile, and Joel.
Yeah.
And what if that element that Ellie was taken away? Then you should have another little girl. That would ruin the story.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you would go back in those 20 years, you would probably meet, what's her name, Tess.
Okay.
And I did not like her as a character.
Well, she was a punk-ass girl.
Yeah, but the way she talked and the way she acted, I was like, well, you can tone it down just a little bit.
Yeah, but that's also her style. I think your character is scarred over 20 years. So I think that will be a good story for development, how they would change.
They can maybe make that a DLC. If you can buy the 20 years DLC for like $20 or something, and you get those 20 years and you see what happens to Joel and all the stuff that affects him. You can see how a year after his daughter has passed away, you can see in what kind of shape he is and what it did to him emotionally.
Yeah, I still think there's also room for an epilogue, how they live in their town, and maybe like an action sequence where they get attacked or something like.
After the fact.
As a sort epilogue, sort of.
Yeah.
That would be also a nice addition. But I think that they produced this story as a one-time, because it is like the end of the life cycle of the PS3. So they know they probably don't have to do it again.
Yeah.
So they'll probably do a new franchise. Maybe. I hope so. Naughty Dog is always good.
Yeah. And I think we talked about everything.
Yes.
Yeah, something popped on my screen with the Amalto recorder, so I hope this is still recording. I think it is. We're going to wrap it up real quick right now. We want to thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like and a favorite if you did enjoy, and hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with future content.
That was quick.
Yeah, when you do it over and over again, you get really good at it. Anyway, we want to thank you guys for watching, and have a great day. Goodbye.
Peace.